Hare Krishna. So we'll come to our seventh chapter. This is a very important chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam because it has three seed verses of Bhagavatam. That's why it's a very important chapter. And last chapter we saw how Narada Muni, he explained his story, how he perfected his life. Now in this chapter, we'll see how Vyasdev is perfecting his life by uh, reciting Bhagavatam. So from here the storyline starts of Bhagavatam. So there are three prakaranas of Bhagavatam. First is the story of Vyasdev, and first is Sonaka Rishi is talking to Sutta Goswami. Then we have Narada Muni and Vyasdev story, and then we have the story of Parikshit Maharaj, because the Bhagavatam starts with Parikshit Maharaj and conversation with Sukadeva Goswami. So three storylines are there in the first part. And also, these are first chapter is the questions, second and third are the answers for the questions. But when the third chapter ends, then Sutta Goswami says that when Krishna left his abode to his abode and Bhagavatam appeared, and immediately they asked, okay, how, when this Bhagavatam came? The next question comes. So to explain that, he said, yes, Vyasa Maharshi wrote. Why did he write? Because Narada Muni instructed. Why did he instruct? Because he was despondent. That's the reason. And then Narada Muni conversation with Vyasa explained. Now here, Vyasa Maharshi gets completely enlightened and he starts writing. Now he's writing, he has to start. So he's telling the story about Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadeva Goswami. Like that, this is the connection. Now, first canto is called Adhikara Tattva. Adhikara Tattva means what is the qualification to understand Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is Adhikara. What is the qualification for the hearer, not for the speaker? Of course, speaker is the hearer because he heard, that's why he became a speaker. But more emphasis given on the qualification of speaker. That's why we see now very few verses will be there about Sukadeva Goswami. But from here onwards, 7th chapter, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, till 19th, it's all about Parikshit Maharaj only. Sukadeva Goswami is speaker, very few shlokas. Parikshit Maharaj hearer, so many chapters for him. Why? Because that is very important for us also. What should be my qualification to understand Srimad Bhagavatam? Sukadeva Goswami will not come and tell us Bhagavatam. He will not come for our morning Zoom session because we should be at the level of Parikshit Maharaj. Anyway, we will start. It's a very nice. Actually, I have to cover some things on the yesterday's purport. I'll do few purports and yesterday's purport also a little bit. So because what happens is so many topics are there to discuss, and next month I am not there, so I wanted to cover up syllabus also. So we'll see how it is for Savanaka Nirgate Narade Suta Bhagavan Badarayanaha Shrutvam Stad Abhipretam Tatkim Akarod Vibhu. So he says, okay, O Suta, Sankadashis are asking, the great and transcendently powerful Vyasdev heard everything from Sri Narada Muni. So after Narada Muni's departure, what did Vyasdev do? In this chapter, the clue for describing Srimad Bhagavatam is picked up as Maharaj Parikshit is miraculously saved in the womb of his mother. This was caused by Droni, Ashwathama, Acharya Drona's son, who killed the 5 sons of Draupadi while they were asleep, for which he was punished by Arjuna. Before commencing the great epic Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Vyasdev realized the whole truth by trance in devotion. So this is the summary of this chapter. Prabhupada's writing. Sutta Vacha Brahmanadya Saraswatyam Ashrama Paschame Tate Samya Prasa iti Prokta Rishinam Satra Vardhanaha. Suta said, on the western bank of river Saraswati, which is intimately related with the Vedas, there is a cottage for meditation at Samyaprasa, which enlivens the transcendental activities of the sages. For spiritual advancement of knowledge, a suitable place and atmosphere are definitely required. The place on the western bank of Saraswati is especially suitable for this purpose. And there is the ashram of Vyasadev at Samyaprasa. Sri Vyasadev was a householder, yet his residential place is called an ashrama. An ashrama is a place where spiritual culture is always foremost. It does not matter whether the place belongs to a householder or a mendicant. The whole Varnashram system is so designed that each and every status of life is called an ashrama. This means that the spiritual culture is the common factor for all. The brahmacharis, the grihasthas, the vanaprasthas and sannyasis all belong to the same mission of life, namely realization of the Supreme. Therefore, none of them are less important as far as spiritual culture is concerned. The difference is a matter of formality on the strength of renunciation. The sannyasis are held in the highest estimation on the strength of practical renunciation. This is about ashrama Prabhupada is giving, and it should be a favorable place. Vyas Maharshi is a grihastha, he has a son also, but he is getting the highest realization. That is also very important. He is the author of Bhagavatam. He is writing, and the speaker of Bhagavatam is Sukadeva Goswami's son. Both are of very high realized persons, and the hearer of Srimad Bhagavatam is a householder, Parikshit Maharaj, like that. It is not the qualification based on ashram. It is based on a spiritual strength. Tasmin swa ashrame vyaso badri sando mandite badri shanda mandite asino apa upasprushya pranidaddho manah swayam. In that place, Sri Vyasadev, in his own ashram, which was surrounded by berry trees, sat down to meditate after touching water for purification. Because there are berry trees, it is Badri ashram. Under instructions of his spiritual master, Sri Narada Muni, Vyasadev concentrated his mind in the transcendental place of meditation. So now here are the 4 verses of the 7th chapter, which are very, very important verses. We all have to memorize these verses. Bhakti yogena manasi samyak pranihite amale apashyat purusham purnam mayam chadatupashrayam. Thus he fixed his mind perfectly, engaged it by linking it in devotional service, Bhakti Yoga, without any tinge of materialism. And thus he saw the absolute personality of Godhead along with his external energy, which was under full control. So Vyasadev could see both the things. So in Bhakti Yogena Manasi, his mind was completely fixed in Bhakti Yoga. And Samyak Pranite, perfectly, Pranite means engaged and fixed upon. Amalam means without any matter, it was fixed in transcendence. And Pashyate, what he saw? Purusham Purnam, absolute person. Mayam cha Tatapashyam, then he saw Maya also, who was completely under the control of Supreme Lord. That means devotee can see both the difference between Maya and Krishna together. In initial stage, we only observe Maya. Krishna is quite difficult. But slowly, the vision changes. You can see how Krishna is acting through Maya in this material world. Now Prabhupada is writing nice purport for it, very big purport. Perfect vision of the absolute truth is possible only by linking process of devotional service. This is a perfect vision. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. One can perfectly realize the absolute truth, personality of Godhead, only by the process of devotional service. And one can enter into the kingdom of God by such perfect knowledge. Imperfect realization of absolute by the partial approach of the impersonal Brahman or localized Paramatma does not permit anyone to enter into the kingdom of God. Sri Narada advised Srila Vyasadeva to become absorbed in transcendental meditation on the personality of Godhead and his activities. This is what Narada's instruction to Vyasa Maharshi. And Sri Vyasadeva did not take notice of the effulgence of Brahman because that is not absolute vision. The absolute vision of the personality of Godhead, as it is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Vasudeva Sarvamiti. In the Upanishads also it is confirmed that Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead, is covered by the golden glowing Hiranmayena Patrena Satyasargita Mukha. This is from the Ishopanishad. Veil of impersonal Brahman. And when that curtain is removed by the mercy of the Lord and the real face of the Absolute is seen, the Absolute is mentioned here as the Purusha or person. The Absolute personality of Godhead is mentioned in so many Vedic literatures, and in the Bhagavad Gita, the Purusha is confirmed as the eternal and original person, the Absolute personality of Godhead in the perfect person. The Supreme Person had many fold energies, out of which the internal, external, and marginal energies are specifically important. The energy mentioned here is the external energy, as will be clear from the statements of our activities. The internal energy is there along with the absolute person, as the moonlight is there with the moon. The external energy is compared to darkness because, so why Maya is darkness? The external energy is because it keeps the living entity in the darkness of ignorance. Here we need sun, tube light, and all these lights. As such, this place is also very dark. It is actually a very stinking place. They don't understand. Pure devotees understand. That's why they feel very compassionate. If somebody, one devotee was sharing, there is a book actually, how devotees entered into Krishna consciousness. Russian devotees they have. So one devotee writes that he tells he was not devotee, he was just materialistic person, somebody. And what happened, one day he met with an accident and then he was getting operated. Suddenly he felt that he is out of his body and he was going up, and he went to out of the universe event, and something white came and he entered that and crossed, and he entered into a very beautiful place, and where people are with four hands and they're so beautiful looking. And then he saw Lord, and then he said, "Oh, now I'm dying." He understood. And Lord said, "So, you want to come?" He said, "No, I did not do anything good till now. I'll come afterwards." He felt, and then said, "Okay, go back." Then he again comes into process all the things, come to his body. Then he sees uh, he's in the operation theater, and doctors they said this person is gone now, no more. They are trying to put all machines. Heart is not beating anymore. And then somebody said enter into the body, and he tried to enter into the body, and he fell on the ground, and he saw he's on the floor. He's not on the bed. Again he got up. He said try again, and again he tried to enter into the body. And second time, then he enters into the body. But as soon as he enters into the body, he understood that he entered into very dark, what do you call, swamp and some dirt. He entered into some dirt. He felt something like that. This is what is material world. We are all, but somehow because we are so much used to it, if a person who is used to certain place, he will not understand that he is in a bad situation. Our mind is like that. It is taking wrong things, but it does not feel anything wrong. Like there was one, our mind is like vacuum cleaner. It always take duds. Anything wrong, it like trying to suck it. That is the problem. One time there was one uh, dustbin cleaner. We have every day they come and collect. This person, he was going in a street where they sell perfumes. suddenly fainted. And all were feeling, array, what happened to this person? He fainted, and everybody's trying to put some water, and he is becoming more and more unconscious. Somebody put some rose water also, but it didn't work. There is one was garbage person. He was going nearby. He saw. He understood whole scene. He went to the nearest garbage, brought some stinking garbage, and kept it on his face. Immediately came to consciousness. The point is what? The that is the state of mind. It is programmed for wrong things and does not feel it is in wrong also. It is natural. But it is a dark place. They kept living in darkness of ignorance. The word apashrayam suggests that this energy of Lord is under full control. The internal potency or superior energy is called Maya, but it is spiritual Maya or energy exhibited in absolute realm. When one is under the shelter of internal potency, the darkness of material ignorance is at once dissipated. And even those who are Atmaramas or fixed in trance take shelter of this Maya internal energy. Devotional service or Bhakti Yoga is the function of internal energy. Thus, there is no place for the inferior energy or material energy, just as there is no place for the darkness in the effulgence of spiritual light. Such internal energy is even superior to the spiritual bliss attainable in the conception of impersonal Brahman. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that the impersonal Brahman effulgence is also an emanation from the absolute personality of God Sri Krishna. The Param Purusham cannot be anyone except Sri Krishna himself, as will be explained in later shlokas. So now we may think, so many times Prabhupada is telling, because very important point we need to know, should not get affected by. And it was the three important shlokas of 7th chapter. Yaya sammohito jiva atmanam figuratmakam paropi mangate nartham tatkritam chapi padyate. He says, due to this external energy, the living entities, although transcendental to the three modes of material nature, thinks of himself as a material product and thus undergoes the reactions of material miseries. Finish. This is first he saw Lord, he saw Maya, then he saw how Maya is controlling the living entities. This is what Vyasdev is saying. Krishna he saw Maya who is under control of Krishna, and he saw living entities who are controlled by Maya, even though they can be independent of her. So Prabhupada is writing, this is a very nice purport. The root cause of suffering of materialistic living being is pointed out with remedial measures which are to be undertaken and also the ultimate perfection to be gained. All this is mentioned in this particular verse. Living being is by constitutional transcendental to material engagement, but is now imprisoned by external energy. Therefore, he thinks himself one of the material products. What happens is, living entity, he starts considering matter, he expands in matter. That is what is happening. Living entity is called Brahman. Brahman, another meaning of Brahman means expand. Now what happens, because I identify with matter, I expand my matter. I want 2 apartments, 3 apartments, I want more and more land, wives, children, properties, all the goods, so much in my house, so many books, so many things. We are expanding in matter because we identify with matter. That is the problem. And this is what is action. Therefore, he thinks himself one of the material products. Because of thinking, what happens? We are expanding and we feel very proud that how much I have. It's not no need of for all these things. This is all matter only, but your spirit soul, it's a big zero only. And we want everybody should recognize my zero. How much big zero I have. I have 5 apartments. I have 3 BHK flat, big car. My zero is very bigger, and all other small zeros should appreciate my zero. This is what happens. So even people in Rajoguna, they are very direct in showing how much they have this ego. Whereas in Tamoguna and in Sattoguna, they are little cunning. They don't want to, they want to be very kind, gentle. They want to help others, look little selfless. What they want? They want appreciation of people. Satuguna people need what? People should say thank you. Say now somebody is, you are walking and if somebody is walking in front of us and suddenly his purse fell down, and very kind, I lifted and gave it to him, said, see your purse. And he didn't even bother. He just took it and left. How much I'll feel, at least you should say thank you. I'm such a nice person. I didn't take the purse myself. I took the effort to take it and run behind him and give. At least you should say thank you. This is a pleasure in mode of goodness. So this is all everything with our big zeros only. That's what purpose. So unless there is bhakti, it will not go away so easily. That false ego don't go away. And due to this unholy contact, the pure spiritual entity suffers material miseries under the modes of material nature. The living entity misunderstands himself to material product. This means that the present perverted way of thinking, feeling, and willing under material conditions is not natural for him. So all these things which we are accumulating are big zeros only. It's not natural for living entity, but it really gives so much kick. But he has his normal way of thinking, feeling, and willing. The living being in his original state is not without thinking, willing, and feeling power. It is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita that actual knowledge of the conditioned soul is now covered by nescience. Thus, the theory that the living being is absolute impersonal Brahman is refuted herein. This cannot be, because the living entity has his own way of thinking in his original unconditional state also. The present conditional state is due to the influence of the external energy, which means that the illusory energy takes the initiative while the Supreme Lord is aloof. So now here we are getting affected. Here what Prabhupada is telling, see, we have thinking, feeling, and willing, which will happen when now we are conditioned, we have thinking, feeling. Unconditioned state also we are thinking, feeling. That means we are separate living entities. And Lord also has the same, his thinking, feeling. He is also separate living entity. So it's not impersonal, it's a person. That is the point Prabhupada is trying to make here. And another point we are trying to understand, what happens is, now we say, oh Prabhuji, we are chanting, we are devotees, we don't know all these things, but why Krishna is not coming? Why Krishna is not delivering me? Point is what, sometimes small children, they are in the house playing something, and suddenly they remember that mother is not besides me. She is somewhere in the kitchen. Immediately child cries, mama, mama, mama. And then mother comes, she gives one toy, some teddy bear or something. And then the child starts playing with it, mother goes away. Now, similarly, when we chant, Krishna sees whether this fellow really seriously want. And sometimes child, he is very hungry and he's so scared and he wants only mother. And he cries in such a way that mother leaves everything and comes and sits with the child. So similarly, Krishna also sees when we are chanting, we really want Krishna. Krishna says, okay, let me give him some facilities and see. And then some facilities come and then chanting quality reduces. Or then Krishna thinks, this fellow don't need facilities, he need problems. Give some problems so that his chanting quality will improve. He really will feel, maybe I need Krishna, I don't need anything in this matter. Actually, it is true. So much pain is there. Today morning, I was chanting morning at 5 o'clock. I got a message. One of my friends' wife left his body just morning. He has very small child. He helped me so much. He's a very emotional person also. I was thinking how he will handle. I felt really sorry for him. I chanted for his departed soul, his child, and him also. A very emotional person. I don't know how he will handle. And very painful situation sometimes. And if we don't do sadhana, if we are not holding on to the truth, really very difficult for him. He's not devotee. Devotee means he is like a Smartha Brahmana type. He's a Pandit, scholar. So very painful. This is how the metal nature is. Very, very. We have to prepare. We have to prepare for every time. If problems that for devotees, they have to get trained to chant. Then when situations like this come, we can more take shelter of Krishna. And then we can really pray to Krishna. I don't want anything of this world. Krishna, I just want you. I don't. I mean, I want to pray like this. That's why I'm speaking. I'm not praying. Hopefully, one day I'll pray. So the Lord does not desire that the living being be illusioned by external energy. The external energy is aware of this fact, but still she accepts a thankless task of keeping the forgetful soul under the illusion by her bewildering influences. The Lord does not interfere with the task of illusory energy because such performance of the illusory energy are also necessary for reformation of the conditioned souls. An affectionate father does not like his children to be chastised by another agent. She is our auntie, Durga Devi, sister of Lord. Na? Yet he puts his disobedient children under the custody of a severe man just to bring them to order. But the all affectionate Almighty Father at some time desires relief for the conditioned souls, relief from the clutches of illusory energy. So yeah, the king puts the disobedient citizens within the walls of the jail, but sometimes the king desires that the prisoners relief personally go there and pledges for reformation, and on his doing so, the prisoners are set free. Similarly, the Supreme Lord descends for his kingdom of onto the kingdom of illusory energy and personally gives relief in the form of Bhagavad Gita, wherein he personally suggests that although the ways of illusory energy are very stiff to overcome, one who surrenders unto the lotus feet of Lord is set free by the order of Supreme. This surrendering process is the remedial measure for getting relief from the bewildering ways of illusion energy. The surrendering process is completed by the influence of association. So surrendering starts when we associate with devotees. The Lord has suggested, therefore, that by the influence of the speeches of saintly persons who have actually realized the men are engaged in this transcendental loving service. The conditioned souls gets a taste for hearing about the Lord, and by such hearing only he is gradually elevated to the platform of respect, devotion, and attachment. See how it starts? It starts with respect. We should develop with respect. The whole thing is complete by surrendering process. Herein also the same suggestion is made by the Lord in his incarnation of Vyasadeva. This means that the conditioned souls are being reclaimed by the Lord both ways, namely by the process of punishment by the external energy of the Lord and by himself as a spiritual master within and without. So we get beatings from Maya, we surrender to Krishna. Within the heart of every living being, the Lord himself as a super soul, Paramatma, becomes the spiritual master from without. He becomes the spiritual master in the shape of scriptures, saints, and initiating spiritual master. This is still more explicitly explained in the next shloka. Yeah, Krishna consciousness is only emergency for the suffering conditioned souls. Yes. And there are some people who never take, even after punishment, they become agnostic. That is also there. Personal superintendence of illusion energy is confirmed in Vedas. The Kathopanishad in relation to the demigod's controlling power. Herein also it is clearly stated the living entity is controlled by the external energy in a personal capacity. Some points I am not elaborating. Some points you already heard, and some things you hear attentively, and only some points I'll elaborate because we have to stick to time also. The living being thus subjected to the control of external energies is differently situated. It is clear, however, from the present statement of the Bhagavatam that the same external energy is situated in the inferior position because the personality of Godhead or the perfect being. A perfect being or the Lord cannot be. Uh, 1 minute. Hare Krishna. The perfect being or the Lord cannot be approached even by the illusory energy, who can only work on living entity. Therefore, it is sheer imagination that the Supreme Lord is illusioned by the illusion energy and thus becomes a living being. If the living being and the Lord were in the same category, then it would have been quite possible for Vyasdev to see it, and there would be would have been no question of material distress in the path of illusion being, for the supreme being is fully cognizant. So there are so many unscrupulous imaginations on the part of monists to endeavor to put both the Lord and the living being in the same category. Had the Lord and the living being on the same, then Srila Sudhir Goswami would not have taken the trouble to describe the transcendental past tense of Lord, for they would all be manifestation of illusory energy. So the point is very clear. Prabhupada is again and again trying to prove how Lord is transcendental, how is a person, how we are living entities, we are conditioned by the Maya under the influence of uh, the power of Maya, which is under the control of Supreme Lord, like that. So same point only. Srimad Bhagavatam is a samam bonam remedy for suffering humanity in the clutches of Maya. Srila Vyasdev therefore first of all diagnosed the actual disease of conditioned soul, that is, they are being illusioned by the external energy. He also saw the perfect supreme being from whom the illusion energy is far removed, though he saw both the disease conditioned souls and also the cause of the disease. Remedial measures are suggested in the next verse. Both the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living being are undoubtedly qualitatively one, but the Lord is the controller of illusory energy, whereas the living entity is controlled by the illusory energy. Here is controller, he is controlled. So same thing. Prabhupada is concluding. Thus the Lord and the living being are simultaneously one and different. Another point is distinct herein that the eternal relationship between the Lord and the living being is transcendental. Otherwise, the Lord would not have taken the trouble to reclaim the conditioned souls from the clutches of Maya. In the same way, the living entity is also required to revive his natural love and affection for the Lord, and that is the highest perfection of the living entity. Srimad Bhagavatam treats the conditioned souls with an aim to the goal of life. So, this shloka is very simple. Ya sammohito jiva atmanam trigunatmakam. Sammohita jiva, living entities builded how? Trigunatmakam. So by three modes. Paropi manatenartam tatkritam chapi paddhati. That means he thinking of himself as a material product and thus undergoes the reactions of material. Paropi manatenartam tatkritam chapi paddhati. So this is the shloka. And next shloka is also the solution. Anarthopasamam sakshat bhakti yogamadokshje lokasya janato vidvam chakre sasvata samhita. So now first situation he saw the Supreme Lord, he saw Maya, then he saw living entity who are caught up in this material world and suffering here. Now the third thing he is telling is what is the solution for them. Yeah, reviving natural love means soul naturally have love for Krishna being part of him. Yeah, we have to understand reviving in the sense means we have capable of it. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shloka, Namo Mahavadanya Krishna Prema Pradayate. He's giving Krishna Prema. Pradayate means he's giving. The giving means what? Which we should not, we don't have, he's giving. We are capable of it, but instead of doing it, we are doing something else. I am capable of doing something better, but instead of that, if I am capable of rendering some nice things, but instead I am not able to recognize my capacity, and I am doing some work of uh, uh, cleaning some drainage and all. Then I say, "Arey, you can you can serve the prime minister. Why are you cleaning drainages here? With your talent, you can do such a big thing." So we have that potency, but we are not able to do. So, like say digestion. I have digestion capacity, but for the process, similarly, we have a potency to, but we cannot say, okay, digest. I ate morning something. If I say digest, it will not happen. It will happen how on its own. Similarly, we have that, but when it is possible, when there is humility, it will manifest by mercy of Lord. So we should be humble and beg to the Lord, then it will manifest. So it is not in this is the highest gift we have for the living entities. This is the highest, the greatest treasure of the human heart is to ability to love, and above all, Krishna in particular. Now, love for God is most precious thing, and this ability is in our hearts. But love cannot be won; it cannot be taken by force. It must, uh, it must happen to us, and so how it happens, we cannot order. Digest no. So the only way we can do it, we pray for it. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling, this is the way. We have to be humble, and when we voluntarily, the love voluntarily descends on us. So that is what actually happens. And we discuss the example of the child. Now, when the child is crying, it is when the mother sees that really he is feeling for us, then mother comes. Similarly, when Lord feels really we are feeling for him, then Lord will also appear like. Clear, Matu? Okay, we'll go for next shloka. We still have. We'll take actually two more shlokas, then we'll complete this section. This is the most. Anartopaksamam saksha bhaktiyo. So now we understood Krishna, Maya, we understood living entity caught up and suffering in these threefold miseries. Now solution. Anarthopasamam saksha bhaktiyo madokshaje lokasya janato vidvan chakre shashvata samhita. The material miseries of living entities, which are superfluous to him, can be directly mitigated by linking process of devotional service, but the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasadeva compiled this Vedic literature, which is in relation to the supreme truth. So this is the purpose of his writing. So it is not for so yesterday Prabhupada was telling, Bhagavatam is not just only for Paramhans, even for the conditioned souls, and this is why Vyas Maharshi wrote this literature. Now, Srila Vyasadeva saw the all perfect personality of Godhead. This statement suggests that the complete unit of the personality of Godhead includes his parts and parcels also. He saw therefore his different energies, namely the internal energy, the marginal energy, and external energy. He also saw his different plenary portions and parts of the plenary portions, namely his different incarnations also. And he specifically observed the unwanted miseries of the conditioned souls who are bewildered by the external energy. And at last, he saw the remedial measures for the conditioned souls, namely the process of devotional service. And previous prayer, purport purpose writing, association of devotees, more specific. It is a great transcendental service, and being with the process of hearing and chanting the name, fame, glories, etc. of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Revival of dormant affection or love of Godhead does not depend on the mechanical system of hearing and chanting, but is solely and wholly depend on the causeless mercy of Lord. It is not something mechanical. 7-day Bhagavad Sapta. Now I received. No. We need to depend on mercy of Lord, and that is what. When the mother sees the child really wants me, then she comes. Lord sees really want, then he will. And the Lord is fully satisfied with the sincere efforts of the devotee. This is the point. He may endow him with his loving transcendental service. But even with the prescribed form of hearing and chanting, there is at once mitigation of superfluous and unwanted miseries of material existence. Such mitigation of material affection does not wait for development of transcendental knowledge. Rather, knowledge is dependent on devotional service for the ultimate realization of the supreme truth. This is the point here, that we cannot force, but Krishna will somehow will be kind and he will bestow some time for us. And we have to get rid of this conditionings. So it is not because when people come in bhakti also, it is not easy process. Bhakti is not easy process. It is purposes, it is easy, but what is there is some problem in that. Some what is not easy. The technique is easy. Technically, bhakti is very easy because you need not do very complicated asanas where we need not do any big things. We just have to take our beats and chant. Even if somebody don't have beats, also chant. You can do without that also. But what is the difficult part is in bhakti is without humility it won't work. There is conditions apply. So all other process you can do without humility. But bhakti is not like that. That is why it is very difficult. And for us, especially for me, people uh, other path they can do on themselves. In bhakti, uh, they can go on their own. But when it comes to bhakti, it is not me. I have to depend on somebody. And yeah, it is said that question in chat box. It is said that mechanically chanting and hearing won't work. But at the beginning stage, we perform service mechanically. Yes, yes. But we cannot continue like that. Na? Initially, we perform, but slowly now we are reading, we are understanding is a person. If you want to develop a relation with the person, we have to act, we have to deal with the person properly. Otherwise, he will not be like say you want to develop a relation with some person or somebody want to develop a relation with you. You need to be very conscious. Then only it happens. Like one devotee was sharing, he got attracted to one girl and he did so much he worked hard to know what type of flower she likes, and then he went and presented that flower to her and she was so happy and she asked, how do you know that I like this flower? And that gave him so much joy. So what happened here is he was very conscious, then he could please her. Similarly with Krishna also. We have to be very conscious to please Krishna. I am telling its theory. I want to practice one day. Now, this is what is very important. We have to, humility is not, it's not that, it's not material achievement. Like in Arabic, there is a saying. They say that when Lord created, he he whispers in the ear of a living entity. He says, "You are the greatest," and he tells, "Don't tell to anyone." And interestingly, he tells to all living entities. And wherever we are, we want to prove ourselves that even in bhakti also, if uh, humility is not connected to false ego, uh, people think that I should be the humblest devotee or like that. So it won't work like that. Humility is, it is something different. So then only it is possible. We are conscious, we are humble. More we read, more we understand Shastra, more we understand we don't know, and more we feel, uh, more we'll feel I am in ignorance also. And we need to learn more and more. More we understand, more humility develops, because we start understanding that actually I don't know anything. More, this is so some understanding I got that. Oh, I don't know much. After reading, you go on reading, you understand. Oh, I don't know much. That is the first realization we get. You really started reading Shastra, you feel no, I don't know much. Like so. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see the time. Okay, thank you all very much. We'll end here. Hare Krishna. Any questions, discussions? Okay, thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki